February is the worst. It always is unless you live somewhere without winter. But this February is especially awful. I was sitting on my balcony drinking coffee and smoking, a habit I gave up when money was tight but picked up again since finances are better now. I don't smoke around my kids to avoid influencing them and exposing them to secondhand smoke. This weekend they're with their grandparents, so I have some free time to think. This February has been particularly bad, with 2 weeks of no sunshine, constant gray skies, 20-degree temperatures, and several inches of snow. Everyone looked forward to Valentine's Day for some relief. It fell on a Thursday, and many took Friday off, practically shutting down the city. My wife Linda and I had plans, but we woke up to more snow, and by afternoon, both of us were sent home from work. The city shut down, so our plans for a night out turned into frozen pizza and Frozen with the kids. Our only dance was with Emma and Timmy, ages 6 and 4, excited for no school the next day. After the kids were asleep, I apologized to Linda, offering her a glass of wine. She reassured me it wasn't my fault, and appreciated the anticipation of the evening. She had a new evening gown I hadn't seen yet, as she keeps it a surprise until we go out. Linda sews her own clothes and many of Emma's, always looking fantastic in whatever she wears. I admired the diamond ring I gave her 10 years ago, sparkling in the firelight. "Thank you for saying yes, Linda. I love you," I said. "I love you too," she replied. We toasted to us and sat in silence for a while. I then apologized for my recent grumpiness, blaming it on February. Linda understood, admitting she'd been irritable too. We joked about hibernating until spring, noting even the kids were on edge. Despite everything, Linda reminded me of our blessings: each other, our kids, our home, and knowing where our next meal was coming from. We laughed about our first date at Wendy's, a standing joke from our college days when I had little money. But Linda didn't mind. "How do people get through times like this without love?" I asked. "Sometimes they don't," she replied, recalling her high school boyfriend's tragic end on Valentine's Day years ago. Determined to stay positive, I took her hands and wished her a happy Valentine's Day, moving our celebration to the bedroom. A predicted 8 inches of snow turned into 2 feet, giving us an unexpected 3-day weekend. Everything closed, but most people still had power and snowmobiles to get around. Our kids loved having us home, playing in the snow, eating pizza, and watching movies with no school. Linda and I enjoyed the break too, with no need to go anywhere and plenty of food to share with neighbors. Emma and Timmy went to bed without fuss, exhausted from the fun, giving Linda and me some private time. However, the kids only wanted to watch Frozen repeatedly. Linda also refused to show me her new dress, teasing that I had to take her out to see it. By Sunday evening, the plows came through and we prepared for work and school. Before bed, Emma and Timmy thanked us for the best weekend ever and gave us sweet hugs. Linda and I were touched, feeling deeply connected. Reality returned, and the weekend became a memory. After putting the kids to bed one night, Linda got a call from her friend Dee. Linda excitedly shared Dee's idea to end the dreadful February with a night out. We'd get a babysitter, have dinner, dance, and stay at a hotel. I had concerns about logistics, but Linda reassured me everything was planned perfectly. We'd dine at the Madison downtown, then head to a nearby club, no driving needed, and our friends had arranged babysitting. Feigning hesitation, I knew Linda would convince me. She playfully hit me with a cushion until I agreed, with one condition. She had to wear the dress she bought for Valentine's Day. Linda smiled and agreed. "As you wish, my lord. Your wish is my command." The dress was blue, enhancing Linda's glowing blue eyes. It had long sleeves, a high neck, and a skirt below her knees, but it was far from old-fashioned. The flared skirt caught attention when she walked and danced, making the smooth fabric even more enticing. Linda descended the stairs slowly, stunning me. She placed a finger on my chin and said softly, "It's still me, Jim. You don't need to flatter me, though I love it." "You don't realize how amazing you look," I managed, kissing her hands. Her eyes glistened and she smiled tremulously. We joined our friends at a crowded restaurant, enjoying each other's company and celebrating the end of February. Linda looked stunning, and I told her so repeatedly, touching her whenever I could. The night was unforgettable. After dinner, we headed to the club. Neither of us drank much, so I was glad I didn't need to drive. Linda hinted she didn't want to stay long, smiling seductively. "We won't stay at the club long, will we?" she whispered. "It's up to you, baby," I replied, grinning. She clung to my arm. The club was packed, but we had reservations. Everyone noticed our group, especially Linda. "You're getting a lot of attention," I whispered. "You're the most attractive woman here." "Oh, you. Flattery will get you everywhere," she teased. We danced, not to impress, but to enjoy each other. When Dave asked Linda to dance, she declined, wanting the night to be special for us. Proud and happy, I whispered, "Is it time to leave already?" "Not yet. We need energy for what's planned," she replied, taking my hand. During a break, we heard loud laughter and saw Marc Lavaliere, the Sharks' quarterback. Our table buzzed with excitement about him, but Linda and I focused only on each other. Dee joked, "Get a room, you two." Linda and I exchanged a look. We hadn't kissed much, just shared a few bites of wings, but we already had a room ready for the night ahead. The band started playing again, sparing us further awkwardness. "Shall we dance here or upstairs?" I whispered to Linda. Before she could answer, Jane interrupted. "Look, he's coming this way." Sure enough, Lavaliere approached our table. The women primped and flaunted, chanting, "Pick me! Pick me!" Linda, however, lowered her eyes and squeezed my hand tighter. "Hi, I'm Mark. Would you like to dance?" he asked Linda, extending his hand. She sighed, dropped my hand, and gracefully took his. Without a glance at me, she stood and began dancing with him. Dave teased me. "I thought she was only dancing with you tonight." "Yeah, me too," I muttered. "Relax, Jim, it's just a dance," Jane reassured me, though I felt uneasy. Everyone watched as they danced. Mark was much better than I was, and Linda clearly enjoyed herself. Dee tried to distract me, but I declined. The next song was slow, and I watched Linda melt into Mark's arms. He whispered something to her, and she smiled. They danced appropriately, but it still hurt to see. When another slow song played, I saw the bandleader watching them. Mark seemed pleased, which made me even more determined to end it. I started to rise, but Jane stopped me. "Give her this. Don't spoil her mood." Reluctantly, I sat back down, heartbroken. The song ended, and Mark led Linda off the dance floor. They smiled at each other, but didn't touch. As Linda approached our table, her best smile faded to her second best when our eyes met. I realized we had a problem. "I keep telling you, you're the most attractive woman here," I whispered as I took her hand. "Maybe it's time to head to our room for the next dance." Linda's eyes widened in fear and her hand trembled. She quickly looked away. "Sorry, everyone. I need to go to the bathroom. Linda, will you come with me?" asked Dee loudly. Linda looked at me apologetically. "I'm sorry, Jim. I could use a refresher too," and left with Dee. The conversation shifted to why women never went to the bathroom alone. As I pondered this, Dee returned alone. "Where's Linda? Is she okay?" I asked, nearly yelling. "Relax, Jim," Dee smiled. "Linda's fine. She just has some things to do. You don't need to worry about her. She's a grown woman." I was still worried, but I tolerated this for about 5 minutes. When Linda didn't return, I had enough. I headed to the bar with an empty plate as an excuse and approached a female bartender. "My wife went to the bathroom 15 minutes ago and hasn't come out. Could you check on her? She loves spicy food, but sometimes has a reaction. Her name is Linda. Here's a picture," I said, showing my phone. The bartender was about to help when Dee appeared. "She's fine. You don't have to check," Dee said, placing a $5 bill on the counter. The bartender looked sympathetically at me. "What? Why did she go with you?" I asked, confused. "Jim, she's not in the restroom. She left the club," Dee said. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. "Why? Where did she go? Is she okay?" I asked, still confused. "Let's talk privately," Dee said, dragging me to a dark corner of the bar. She looked me in the eyes. "Jim, Linda loves you and the kids more than anything. But tonight she's with Mark," she said. I felt my world crumble. Images of Linda in her blue dress at dinner at the club flashed in my mind. "So, on our special night, she dumps me for some jock," I growled. "Jim, she hasn't left you. She'll be home tomorrow, and you'll have many more special nights," Dee said. "She didn't even tell me to my face. She slipped out like a snake, and you helped her," I said. "Listen, Jim, she didn't leave you," Dee insisted. "If she hasn't left me, where is she? She's not with me now," I said, my voice rising. "Please calm down. Linda knows you're the only man for her. You're a good guy," Dee said condescendingly. "Yeah, and we all know where good guys end up," I said through clenched teeth. "It's just tonight. Tomorrow everything will be the same," she said. I snorted. "What was your role in this? You didn't need to go to the bathroom. Linda gave you the signal to stall me," I accused. Dee nodded. "Yes, she didn't want you to make a scene. She loves you and will always come home to you," she said. "I'll remember how much she loves me tonight," I thought. "She didn't want to be embarrassed by leaving her husband for a jock," I said. "Didn't you remind her she has a husband and a marriage to lose?" No, because I know she won't lose you. You're too good a man. She'll do whatever it takes to make it up to you, Dee said. What if there's no way to make amends? I asked. Jim, I know how much you both love each other. This is just one night compared to all your years together. It's not a big deal unless you make it one. You'll be okay, Dee said softly but firmly. I resisted the urge to grab Dee and shake her for talking nonsense. So if Mark had chosen you, would you have done the same? I asked. I would, she said defiantly. Does Dave know? I asked. No, and you don't need to tell him. It probably won't happen, she said softly. Maybe I should, I said. Please don't, Jim, this won't help. Come back to the table and let's be distracted for a while, she said, smiling. I wanted to dance with my wife, but thanks to you and Mark, that's not an option, I said, walking back to our table. The conversation stopped abruptly. Everyone knew my wife was with Mark. Jim, are you okay? Asked Dave. I wanted to tell him what Dee said, but couldn't bring myself to. It depends on what you mean by okay, I said coldly. It was a crappy thing to do, but you won't divorce Linda over it, right? Asked Dave. Why not? I replied. There was a collective sigh. Jim, that's Mark Lavaliere, Dee said. I don't care who it is. If it's not me, it's cheating, I said angrily. What if Dee spent the night with Mark? Would you be okay with that? Dave blushed and looked at Dee, who was avoiding his gaze. Jim, think about your children. They need you, Jane said. Is my wife thinking about them right now? I asked. That's why you hired a nanny, Dee said, trying to joke but failing. It's just one night. She won't get this chance again. You wouldn't divorce her over one night, Dee added. Why not? I stared at her. Silence followed. Jim, consider a different perspective, Jane suggested. What if a Sports Illustrated model wanted to spend the night with you? Wouldn't you be tempted? I might be tempted, but I'd say no. I have a wife, and I wouldn't want to hurt her, I said firmly. Silence fell again. I looked at my former friends who sided with my cheating wife. A bouncer approached our table. Is there a problem? He asked. Yes, a big one, I said, tossing a $20 bill on the table. I'm leaving. That'll cover my bill. You can cover for the strumpet I came with, I said, walking out of the club. As I walked to the hotel, my anger turned to deep sadness. Linda and I were supposed to walk together, but now I was alone. Alone, I took the elevator, entered our suite, and faced the wreckage of our special night. Alone, I looked into an uncertain future. I turned on the light, closed the door, and felt unusually tired. I threw my coat on the floor and headed to the bedroom. There was a Godiva candy bar on each pillow, and unfamiliar underwear in the middle of the bed. I imagined Linda putting them on with the love and sensuality that used to be just for me, until tonight. My wife, my lover, my best friend was taken from me by another man. He snatched her easily as if he had every right. To him, she was just a beautiful plaything for the night, and she let him. I meant so little to her that she offered no resistance. It felt like she believed he had more right to her than I did after nearly a decade of being a faithful husband. It was supposed to be just one night, but what would he leave in her heart and mind? How could I compare to the town hero, Mark Lavaliere? I stopped crying, washed my face, and gathered our things. I threw the underwear in the trash. I checked us out of the hotel, and the desk clerk looked puzzled. Is everything all right with your room, sir? She asked. The room was beautiful, I said. Anything we can do to make your stay more comfortable? She replied. Make him disappear and turn back time, I thought. But I said no thanks. Have a nice evening, sir, she said. Yeah, right, I muttered to myself, getting into my car and driving home. Emotions churned inside me. Anger and sadness fought for control. The house felt quiet and empty. I hoped for a message from Linda, but there was nothing. I lay down, still in my clothes, and dozed off. Around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed with texts from an unknown number. It was photos and videos of Linda and Mark having fun. He must have used her phone to send them to me. I slammed my phone shut, anger surging. Divorce was inevitable, but Mark would pay. I copied the images and videos onto my computer and emailed them to our friends with the subject, Happy Now. I then packed all of Linda's belongings into trash bags, stuffed them into her car, and changed the garage code. I destroyed everything that reminded me of our marriage, turning the house into a war zone. I flushed my wedding ring down the toilet along with my urine and feces. Mentally exhausted, I sat down for coffee when the morning paper hit the door. The headlines shocked me. Who is Mark Lavaliere's new girlfriend? With photos of Linda and Mark leaving the club, kissing before she climbed into his Jaguar. My humiliation was now public. I sent the article link to our friends with the subject, "Screw you all to hell." Seeing it was 5:30 a.m., I called Linda's mother, knowing she'd be up making breakfast. "Hi," she said. "Everything okay?" "No, Mom," I replied. We got along well, and I always called them Mom and Dad. "What's wrong? Is it the children?" she asked. "No. Have you seen this morning's paper?" "Not yet," she said. "Alfred reads it over coffee. Why?" "He might want to avoid the sports section. There's an article on Marc Lavaliere he might not like." "Alfred thinks highly of him," Linda's mother said. "Maybe not after this. Linda left me at the club with him last night, and they were spotted getting into his car." "Oh my God," she exclaimed. "Where's Linda now?" "Still with him," I said. "She stayed the night with him?" she asked. "Yes. I don't know when or if she'll come back, but I can't keep her here. She'll need somewhere to stay." "All right." "Alfred won't be happy, and neither am I. Is there any way to fix this?" "No, Mom." She turned her back on me and went off with him. Our so-called friends covered for her. "I'm so sorry, Jim. Of course she can stay here if needed." "What about the children?" "They're at the babysitter's for the night. I might ask my in-laws to watch them for the rest of the weekend." "Okay, let me know if I can help, Jim." "Thanks, Mom." I had another idea and went back to the computer. I logged into Linda's Facebook page and posted the link to the article with the caption. Guess what? I made it to the front page of the sports section, went on a date with my lame husband, then spent the night with a real stud. Lucky me. I also emailed the reporter who wrote the article, explaining what happened and including a video of Mark telling me he was going to entertain Linda again. I left my contact info and sent the email. At 8 a.m., I called Mrs. Porter to ask if my parents could pick up the kids. She agreed and asked, "Have you seen the sports section?" "Yes," I said. "Was that really Linda?" she asked. "Unfortunately, yes," I confirmed. "Please don't mention it to the kids yet." "I understand. I'm sorry, Jim. You don't deserve this," she sympathized. "Thank you," I said, ending the call. Next, I called my mom. "Jim, is everything okay?" she asked, concern evident in her voice. "Your father just read the paper." "Yes, Mom, could you pick up the kids from Mrs. Porter's house this morning? They should stay with you for the weekend," I requested. "Of course, son. What are you going to do?" she inquired. "Unleash hell, Mom," I declared. "Think of the kids first, okay? They're the most important thing in your life right now," she reminded me gently. "I know, Mom. Thanks for reminding me," I acknowledged. We finished talking, and I got a cup of coffee. At 9:30, my cell phone rang. It was Dee. "What?" I bellowed. "Jim, it's Dee. I saw this morning's paper and wanted to apologize. I had no idea it would be this bad," she admitted. "What did you think would happen? My wife left with a star soccer player. Of course, someone would notice. It's worse than you think," I retorted. "What do you mean?" she asked. "Check Linda's Facebook page and your email," I directed. "I haven't yet. I like my morning coffee first," she said. "The answers are there. I hope you're happy," I said curtly. I ended the call before she could respond. Then Jane called, upset about the video and photos. "Why are you surprised?" I asked. "I never thought he would do something like this," she confessed. "Entertain my wife or send pictures and videos?" I pressed. "Both." "What are you going to do?" she questioned. "What do you think? Now say goodbye and bugger off," I demanded. I hung up and tried to drink my coffee, but the phone rang again. I didn't recognize the number, but answered it anyway. "Mr. Thomas Carlyle?" a woman's voice asked. "That's him," I said. "Mr. Carlyle, this is Audrey Tanis from the Daily Record. I received an email and video from you. Is your wife the same woman seen with Marc Lavaliere last night?" she asked. "Yes, that's her with the idiot," I said. "Who?" she asked. "Sorry, that's what I call him," I said. "I see. And you say the woman he is with is your wife?" she asked. "My soon-to-be ex-wife," I said. "So you're getting divorced over this?" she asked. "Absolutely," I said. "You mentioned other videos and pictures in your letter?" she asked. "Yes. Would you like to see them?" I asked. "I would. Can we meet to discuss this?" "Sure, but I'd like to wait until she gets home first." "She's not back yet?" Audrey asked. "No, she isn't," I said. "Okay, give me a call when you can meet and we can talk things over," she said. "Sure," I said, ending the conversation. Curious, I checked Linda's Facebook page. The comments were split, half supportive, half critical. Some called her a promiscuous and vowed they'd kick her back if their wives did the same. I noticed she had lost a few Facebook friends and chuckled when Linda walked in around 11 o'clock. I saw a Jaguar pulling away from the house. "Jim, it's me," she said, pulling the key from the lock. "I'm home," she announced casually. "Why is my car parked in the driveway and not in the garage? And what are those things in it?" Her eyes widened when she saw me at the table. I knew I looked terrible. Her face turned white as she looked around the wrecked house. "Oh my God!" she exclaimed. "What have you done? Everything is destroyed. Our wedding portrait, my vase, our glasses, and what is that smell?" "I finished what you started last night," I said. "Did you sleep at all?" she asked. "Why do you care?" I asked. "Look, I'm really sorry about last night, but I'm here now and I'm still your wife." I shook my head. She tried to kiss my cheek, but I stopped her. "Don't touch me," I said. She looked startled. "And no, you're not my wife. Not anymore. That's what it says in the paper and online, thanks to Idiot." I showed her the spread with all the photos. "Oh no," she said, shocked. "How did they get those pictures? I'm not his girlfriend, no matter what the papers say. It doesn't matter. You had your fun, and now we're done." "I need to use the bathroom. Then we should talk," she said. I followed her to the bathroom and watched her recoil from the mess in the toilet. "Is that your wedding ring?" she asked. "Yes. Since you trashed our marriage, I made it official." I took her left hand and inspected her rings. "What are you doing?" she asked. "What's that?" I asked, pointing to a dried stain on her ring. "I don't know," she said. "Nonsense," I said, pulling up a video on my phone of Mark smearing it on her rings. Her face lost color. "Not only did you humiliate me in public and in front of the whole town, but you also defiled our wedding rings," I said, growing angrier. I pulled the rings off her finger. "What are you doing?" she shrieked as I threw the rings into the toilet and flushed. She screamed, her eyes wide. "My rings! How could you? You have to give them back." "No, how could you? I loved you exclusively for over a decade, and this is my thanks? Screw you." "But it was just one night," she said. "We have the rest of our lives ahead of us." I showed her the video of Mark saying he'd continue to entertain her. "Was he telling the truth? Do you want to do this in our bed while I watch?" "It may have come up, but I didn't think he was serious," she said. "It was just pillow talk." "Like this?" I asked, showing her the video. She shook her head. "That's not what I meant," she said. "Well, I'm serious," I said. "Get out and let your lover know that if he steps inside this house, I will liquidate him. Now get out before I throw you out." "But I live here too," she said. "Not anymore. I'm getting a divorce. Your stuff is in the car and your mother is waiting for you. You're dead to me. I don't want to see your face again. Now get out." "What about the children?" she exclaimed. "What about them? You didn't care about them or me when you left with him." "That's not true, and stop calling him that," she said. "Screw you." "Oh, wait, he already did. He knew you were married and didn't care. Now you're defending him? Get out of my sight. You make me sick." She jerked back, tears streaming down her face. "Get out." She ran down the stairs wailing. I followed, grabbed her purse, took out her house key, and tossed it to her. "Don't do this," she begged. "I love you." "I hate you. Now get out," I said. Shivering and crying, she walked out and drove away, wiping tears from her face. Exhausted, I collapsed on the couch and fell asleep. Waking up in the afternoon, I showered, then called Audrey. "Audrey, this is Jim Carlisle." "Good afternoon, Mr. Carlisle," she said. "Is it too late to meet this afternoon?" "Not at all," she said. "Where would you like to meet?" "How about Sherry's by the mall? It's quiet." "Sounds good. See you there," she said. I called my mom to check on the kids. They were watching Frozen, but took a break to talk. "Where's Mom?" asked Emma. "She's staying with her mother for now," I said. "Why doesn't she stay home with you?" she asked. "We're working out some issues. You'll see her soon. I need to meet someone, but I'll call you later, okay?" "Okay, Daddy," she said. "Bye." My heart was breaking. Linda and Mark had not only ruined my marriage, but also my children's lives. I left for Sherry's, where I was escorted to a table in the corner. A young brunette with a laptop greeted me. "Mr. Carlisle," she said. "Nice to meet you." "Call me Jim," I said. "Thank you, Jim. I'm Audrey. I want to apologize." "For what?" I asked. "Those are my pictures in the morning paper," she said. "Did you take them?" I asked. "Yes. I was at the club with my friends and saw Mark Lavaliere. I noticed him dancing with your wife and followed them outside. I didn't know she was married. I have more footage. Would you like to see it?" "Why not?" I said. She handed me the tablet and turned on the video. I saw Linda and Mark in the parking lot, holding hands like Linda and I used to. They kissed by his car, looking like a couple. When the video ended, I gave the tablet back. "I'm really sorry about what happened," she said. "I sent some things to the paper and then went back to the club, but you were gone. Want to tell me your side?" I nodded and recounted the evening. Then I gave her my phone with headphones. "You should see this video," I said. "I'm a big girl," she replied, putting on the headphones. As I ate, I watched her face change as she watched the video. When she finished, she handed back the phone. "Well?" I asked. "It confirms some rumors I've heard. He's known as a player, but it's hard to prove," she said. "What are you going to do?" "I'm getting a divorce." She knew my views on fidelity but didn't care. Now it's over. "Any kids?" she asked. "2, a boy and a girl, 6 and 4, I said. "It's always hardest on the kids," she said. "Yes, it is," I replied. "What about Mark?" she asked. "I don't know yet. Part of me wants to strike him up, but I don't want to go to jail. He's a star soccer player. No offense, but I don't think you'd get far," she said. I chuckled. People have underestimated me before. Size isn't everything. "What does that mean?" she asked. "My dad used to say it's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog," I said. "So, you want to cause trouble?" she asked. "No, I have 2 kids to think about, but I won't just roll over," I said. "Have you talked to a lawyer?" she asked. "I haven't had time. This all happened last night," I said. She handed me a card. "A friend of mine is a family law attorney. She hates crooks and isn't fond of Lavaliere. I'll call her if you want." I looked at the card. "Lisa Hawkins, attorney at law." "Sure, thanks. But why are you helping me so much?" "Fair question. I smell a good story and want to tell yours. Also, I like seeing guys like Lavaliere get what they deserve." "So it's personal?" I asked. "A little," she admitted. "What do you want from me?" I asked. "An exclusive?" "Something like that." "It means you let me tell your side and control the flow of information," she said. "We?" I asked. "Yes, Lisa and I." "And what do I get?" "A defense against people like me. Lavaliere's team will spin this to make you look bad. You need someone who knows how to deal with sharks," she said. "What do we do?" I asked. "Have you thought about making a case against Lavaliere?" she asked. "Yes, I have," I said. "Let me see what they're doing. I'd like to publish a note in tomorrow's paper that you're considering legal action. Is that okay?" I pondered her question. I knew she was right. Linda's identity would become public soon, so it was best to be proactive. "Okay," I said, "but we'll work on it together and I'll have veto power if it might hurt the kids." "Agreed," she said. "I'll make some calls and get started. By the way, the local news will cover this tonight. They've already contacted me." "What did you tell them?" I asked. "I haven't said anything yet. I wanted to talk to you first." "Thanks," I said. We finished our meal and said goodbye. I hoped I was doing the right thing. I decided to go to my parents' house to talk about everything. Checking my phone, I saw no calls or messages from Linda. When I arrived, my children ran up to me, and I hugged them tightly. "Where's Mom?" Emma asked. "She's with her parents," I said. "Why?" Emma asked. "She has some things to take care of," I said, not wanting to reveal too much. My parents joined us, and we sat down. "Are you okay, son?" my father asked. "Not really, Dad," I said. "I'm better than I was, but it's still hard." "I understand," he said. The news came on the TV, and despite the kids' objections, we watched. "And now, onto our Talk of the Town segment," the anchor said. "The Daily Record reported this morning that star soccer player Mark Lavaliere was spotted leaving a nightclub with a new girlfriend. A video shows them leaving the club and getting into his car. Linda and Mark were clearly seen holding hands and kissing." "Daddy, why is Mommy kissing that man?" asked Emma. "Is he her boyfriend?" "Just watch the news, Emma," I told her. Timmy didn't fully understand, but was clearly upset. The anchor continued. "We spoke with Audrey Tannies, the reporter who broke the story. She said the woman is married, but her husband did not authorize the release of her name. We reached out to Lavaliere and Sharks management, but received no comment. More information may come as early as tomorrow." Dad turned off the TV, and Mom took the kids to another room. Dad turned to me. "What are you going to do, son?" he asked. "I'm getting a divorce, Dad," I said. He nodded. "I don't blame you. You know it probably means she gets the kids and you lose everything financially. Maybe, but I can't live with her after this. By the way, I talked to the reporter who broke the story." "Yeah?" he asked. "Yes, she offered to help me. The next few days are going to be tough. This is just the beginning." Mom returned and said, The kids can stay here as long as needed. That way they won't be bothered by reporters. Your mom's right, Dad said. They can stay here as long as they need to. Thanks. I'll get more of their stuff tomorrow. Let me know if you need anything. Linda will want to see them, Mom said. Technically, we can't stop her without a restraining order. I know. It's all so messed up. Why did she do it? She must have known it wouldn't end well. It's hard to say, my father said. You do what you have to do. We'll help in any way we can. Just don't do anything stupid. Thanks, Dad, I said. We hugged and I went to the kids. Emma came up to me with tears in her eyes. Are you going to get a divorce? She asked. I couldn't lie to her. I guess so, honey. But remember, we all love you very much. I hugged her as she cried on my shoulder. Damn you, Linda, I thought. After spending time with the kids, I said, I have to go. I need to clean the house. Mom handed me a dish of lasagna. Take this with you. You need to keep your strength up. Thanks, Mom, I said. Her lasagna was the best. We said our goodbyes, and I headed home. When I got there, I put the lasagna in the fridge and checked Linda's Facebook page. The post was still up and had been viewed by over 500,000 people, with mostly negative comments. She had lost nearly 3/4 of her friends. I smiled and shut down the computer. I had just finished cleaning up and was about to heat the lasagna when the doorbell rang. Crap, I thought. I looked through the peephole. It was Dee and Dave. What the hell do they want? I opened the door slightly. What the hell do you want? I growled. They both jumped. Can we talk, Jim? Asked Dee. Why? I asked. Because we're friends and we're worried about you, she said. I snorted. Friends? With friends like you, who needs enemies? Please, Jim, can we come in and talk for a minute? Dee pleaded. I thought for a moment, then let them in. They looked around, shocked at the destruction and missing items. So, what do you want? I asked, pouring myself coffee without offering them any. Jim, we want to apologize for last night, Dee said. We saw the video and read the report. We didn't know it would be this bad, and we're sorry. You didn't know? I asked mockingly. But you knew she was married when you pushed her into his bed, didn't you? Yes, we did, Dee admitted. Linda knew she was married too. None of you cared. You just wanted her with him, I said. They looked ashamed. All that talk about one and done doesn't mean anything, does it? I asked. Linda's really upset now. She's been crying on her mom's bed, and we're worried she's having a breakdown, Dee said. I tossed a thick dictionary onto the coffee table, making them jump. You want sympathy? Look between crap and syphilis, and you'll find it there. My God, this really destroyed you, said Dave. You don't understand. I'm close to tipping my hat, I said, holding my fingers 1/2 inch apart. If I had a weapon, I might have done it already. Someone has to think about the kids, unlike you or Linda last night. So, you flushed your rings and told her she was dead to you? Dee asked. I nodded. She ruined our marriage, and I finished what she started, I said. What will you do now? Asked Dave. There's no choice. I have to divorce her. This article has gone viral. Everyone knows it's her. I have to divorce her nasty back, I said. And you'll be named too, I added to Dee. Me? Why? Dee asked. You helped destroy our family. That's being an accessory. You could have stopped her, but didn't, I said. Have you told your husband what you said to me yet? Dave looked at her. What did you say to him? He asked. She looked down, flushed. He turned to me. What did she say? She said if Mark had approached her instead of Linda, she'd have done the same thing, I said angrily. He turned to her. Is that so? We'll discuss it at home, he said. I asked you not to tell him, Dee said to me angrily. Your husband deserves to know what kind of woman he's married to, I said. So, that's it? She asked. Yes, I said. They got up to leave, but Dee made one last attempt for Linda. I understand if you don't want to be friends, but can't you forgive Linda just once? She really loves you, she said. Are you that naive, Dee? No, I can't forgive her, and I never will. She destroyed me, and you helped. I can never look at you the same way again. She nodded sadly. Okay, I'm sorry. I said nothing. Dave held out his hand, then pulled it back. I'm sorry too. We're all sorry. I guess I'll see you later. I hummed in response, not wanting to say anything. I watched them leave, Dee wiping tears. I locked the door and went to the kitchen for dinner, then lay down on the bed and fell asleep. The next day, I got up, did my morning routine, and grabbed a newspaper from the porch. After cereal and toast, I opened the paper to the sports section. Cheating husband considering lawsuit against Sharks tight end Mark Lavaliere, read the headline. This should be good, I thought. Audrey did a great job retelling what I told her, keeping my name anonymous. The man, who identified himself as the woman's husband, provided a video showing a relationship between his wife and Lavaliere, the article said. He claims her friends helped her escape with Lavaliere. Attempts to contact them have been unsuccessful. Lavaliere's contract includes a strict morals clause, and violating it could result in litigation. Team management and Lavaliere have not commented. Satisfied, I closed the paper and sipped my coffee. My phone buzzed with a message from Audrey. "Hope you read the paper this morning." "Great article," I replied. "Thanks," she wrote back. "Expect a call very soon." A few seconds later, my phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. I answered, curious. "Jim Carlisle," I said. "Mr. Carlisle, this is Lisa Hawkins. Audrey Tanis gave me your number. I hope I didn't catch you at a bad time," she introduced herself. "There are no good times these days. But I'm glad you called, Lisa. What can I do for you?" I responded. "More like what I can do for you," she corrected. "Just call me Lisa." "Okay, Lisa. Call me Jim," I replied. "Thank you, Jim. Audrey told me about you, and I wanted to contact you after you read her article." "I assume you've read it?" she inquired. "Yes, and she did a good job," I affirmed. "I agree. Jim, I'd like to represent you if you don't mind. Are you considering legal action against Lavaliere and the team in addition to divorcing your wife?" she asked. "Yes, I am," I confirmed. "You're in luck. Infidelity is grounds for divorce here, and suits for alienation of affection are allowed. You have a strong case. Do you have children?" she queried. "Yes, a boy and a girl," I answered. "Will you seek custody?" she continued. "Absolutely," I stated firmly. "It might be complicated, but we can ask for it. I'd like to start your case today. Can you meet at my office tomorrow at 8 o'clock? She proposed. "Yes, I can." "What about the fee?" I asked. "Usually there is a fee, but I'm willing to do it pro bono," she offered. "Thank you. But why?" I asked, surprised. "I'll tell you someday. Just not now," she replied mysteriously. "Okay," I agreed. "One last thing, Jim. After this morning's article, you'll probably hear from the Sharks legal team. Don't give in. Just tell them they can expect a call from your lawyer," she advised. "Of course," I assured her. "All right, and don't do anything stupid," she cautioned. "I won't, I promise," I told her. We said goodbye. I decided to visit the kids, changed into clean jeans and a shirt, then heard banging on the door. Through the peephole, I saw two well-dressed men. Probably from the Sharks, I thought. Remembering Lisa's warning, I opened the door. "Yes, what can I do for you?" I asked calmly. "Mr. Carlisle, I'm Roger Billings, and this is Jack Dunstan. We're from the Sharks. Can we come in and talk?" I recognized Dunstan, the team owner. Roger was probably a lawyer. I invited them in. "Please, come in. May I offer you something to drink?" "No thanks," Jack said. "We're here to discuss your problem with Mark Lavaliere." "Graduation?" I asked. "You mean he ruined my marriage and family?" "Yes," Jack said, confused. He turned to Roger. "Show him the proposal." Roger handed me an envelope and a folder. I opened the envelope and was shocked. "Is everything all right, Mr. Carlisle?" asked Jack. "You've got to be kidding me," I said. "Is there a problem, Mr. Carlisle?" asked Roger. $1,000? You're offering me $1,000 for what he did to my family? That's an insult." "Wait, Mr. Carlisle," Jack said. "It includes lifetime season passes and anything from our gift store. That costs a lot of money." I almost laughed. "And in exchange for what?" I asked. Roger opened the folder to show an unsigned document. "We ask that you not file a lawsuit against the team or Mr. Lavaliere," he said. I looked at the document, incredulous. "And you won't do anything to Lavaliere? What about the morals clause in his contract?" I asked. Roger shrugged. "Listen, Mr. Carlisle," Jack said, "boys will be boys. Mr. Lavaliere is a respected member of the team with high standing in the community. We just ask you to reconsider prosecuting. We don't want anyone's reputation tarnished. Surely you can understand that." "Lavaliere ruined my marriage and my reputation," I said. "There are already articles and pictures of him with my wife. What about my two kids? How will you make up for their lost family? Do you think season tickets and flashy clothes will make up for that?" "What do you want us to do?" asked Jack condescendingly. "Oh, I don't know. Maybe entertain my wife or turn back time to Thursday and stop him from meeting her," I said wryly. "Better yet, kick some balls around the soccer field live on air. I'd pay to watch that." Both men looked shocked. "We can't do any of that, Mr. Carlisle," said Roger. "Perhaps you'd like to make a counteroffer." You will listen to my attorney. This meeting is over. Please leave." They looked at each other, then stood up. Jack held out his hand, but I didn't take it. They nodded and walked out. After they left, I called Lisa to let her know what happened, then went to my parents' house to spend time with the kids. Emma was still shocked by seeing Linda kiss another man. After talking to my parents, I took the kids to Chuck E. Cheese's, then packed their stuff to take to their grandparents' house. While we were packing, the front door swung open, and Mark stood there, enraged. "You goddamn fool," he shouted. "I'm going to hurt you for everything you've done. All I wanted was a piece of back, but you made it a big federal case." I tried to speak, but he punched me. After the stars disappeared from my vision, I grabbed the iron skillet from the stove. He fell to the floor, and I dropped the skillet. "Drop the frying pan, sir," a policeman said. I let go and turned around, hearing it hit the floor. "Stay where you are. Hands behind your head." I obeyed and was handcuffed. The officer lifted me to my feet. "Officer, he broke into my house," I said. "I know," he said. "Your neighbor saw him kicking in the door and called emergency. Are you okay?" "My face hurts like hell," I said. "You'll have a bruise," he said. He checked on Emma, who was physically fine but shaken. He called on the radio and came back to me. "Officer, can I call my parents to come get the kids?" I asked. "Do you have a weapon?" he asked. "No, that's why I grabbed the frying pan," I said. "Okay," he said, releasing me from the handcuffs. "But I need your statement." "Am I going to be arrested?" "I don't think so. You were protecting your children. Unless told otherwise, no, but I will arrest him." I called my parents. My dad said he'd be right over. An ambulance arrived, and paramedics checked on Emma and me before attending to Mark, who was unconscious on the floor. They wheeled him out on a gurney as my dad arrived. "What happened?" he asked. "We had an unwanted guest," I said. He looked at my face. "Damn, this will be a mess for a long time," he said. He hugged Emma. "It's okay, honey. The bad man is gone." He looked around. "Where's Timmy?" Timmy was hiding under the table. "It's all right, son. You can come out now." He crawled out and came to us. My father looked at the policeman. "Can we leave?" he asked. The policeman nodded. "Yes, that's fine. I'll need to talk to your son, but you don't have to be here." "Thank you," my dad said. He gathered the kids and their things, then turned to me. "Come back when they're done, okay?" "I will, Daddy. Thank you," I said. I hugged and kissed the kids goodbye, telling them I'd see them soon. The policeman and I sat on the couch as he took my statement. I couldn't believe it had all happened so quickly. "Good thing your neighbor called in time," the cop said. "I was just a couple blocks away. I've been following the Lavaliere story. Was that your wife he was seen with?" I nodded. "Yes." "I'm sorry to hear that. Feel free to call if you need someone to talk to," he said, handing me a card with a counselor's name and number. "Thank you, officer. I appreciate it," I said. He left after shaking my hand, and I stood in the front room looking at my damaged front door. Fred, my neighbor who called the police, came over. "Are you all right, Jim?" he asked. "I am now. Thanks for calling the police." "No problem. I saw him kick in the door while I was out front with the lawnmower. What did you do to him?" "Cleaned his clock with a frying pan," I said. He laughed. "Remind me never to piss you off. Why did he kick in the door? It wasn't locked, was it?" "No, just the security screen. He was too angry to try the knob. We can close the door, but the jamb is shot. I'll get a drill and screws to help you secure it." "That would be great, Fred. Thanks." With Fred's help, we managed to close the door and bolt it since the jamb was damaged. Luckily, the deadbolt wasn't locked, and I was able to use it. "That'll do it. Let me know when you get a replacement, and I'll help you install it." "Thanks again," I said. I made 2 calls, one to Lisa and one to Audrey. Lisa wasn't thrilled about the frying pan incident, but was glad it was over and I wasn't in jail. She was amused that Lavaliere was in the hospital and would be arrested. Audrey told me she heard the call on the police scanner and had already spoken to the police reporter. "You know I can't keep you anonymous anymore," she said. "It'll be in the police report." "I know," I replied. We talked some more and she told me to stay tuned. "Everyone will be talking about this now," she said. After our call, I went upstairs and showered again. Seeing my black and blue eye in the mirror, I called my boss and explained the situation, asking for a few days off. "Crap, you had a hell of a weekend. Take a week to sort things out," my boss said. "Thanks," I replied. After we hung up, I went to see my parents and kids. Linda arrived at the same time. I wasn't expecting her and didn't know what to expect. We met on the walkway to the front door and she looked shocked. "Oh my God, are you okay?" she asked. It's a little late to worry about my well-being, I said sarcastically. You want to know what happened? Your lover happened. He came to the house to pick a fight. Did you hurt him? She asked. Please don't tell me you hurt him. I can't believe you. He's in the hospital and I don't care about his condition. He's in police custody. Why are you here? I came to see my kids. I miss them, she said. You mean since the night you left us for him? I asked roughly. It's only been 36 hours and now you're thinking about them? Please don't call him that, she said. He ruined our marriage, Linda, and you helped him without a second thought for me or the kids, I said angrily. He ruined our family. That makes him an idiot of the highest order, and you're defending him. I walked into the house and she followed. Everyone looked our way. The children huddled close to their grandmother, now in full protective mode. What do you want? Linda hissed. I want to see my children, Linda said. Timmy looked frightened, clinging tighter to my mother. Emma looked at my mother, disgusted. Why did you kiss that man, Mommy? She asked. What man? Linda asked. That man, Emma said, pointing to the TV. Lavalliere's face was on the screen. This just in, the anchor said. Sharks tight end Mark Lavalliere faces multiple charges after allegedly kicking in a woman's door and assaulting her husband. The husband defended his home with a cast-iron skillet. Lavalliere is in the hospital with a serious head wound and other injuries. Charges will be filed once his condition improves. Sharks management has suspended him pending the investigation. The scene showed Roger and Jack at a microphone. We regret to report that Mark Lavalliere is hospitalized with a head wound and other injuries, Jack said. We apologize to the family he allegedly assaulted. We contacted the husband with a reasonable offer, which he declined. How do you respond to the charges? A reporter asked. The charges include terroristic breaking and entering, assault and battery, Jack said. We have no comment, Roger added. Lavalliere is suspended pending the investigation. He is still unconscious, so we haven't heard his side. That's all for today. The anchor returned, saying, This is breaking news. Stay tuned to Eyewitness News for updates. Everyone turned to Linda. Oh my God, she said. Unconscious? What did you do to him, Jim? Show concern for your lover, I said. I punch him several times. Linda started toward Emma, but she recoiled. My mother spoke up. Haven't you done enough? She asked. For this family's sake, leave now, Linda, my father added. And you're not welcome here again, my mother said. With tears in her eyes, Linda looked at everyone, finding no sympathy. She turned and left, sobbing. It was just one night. After she left, I hugged the children until they calmed down. I kissed them goodnight and left. At home, I entered through the garage since the front door was broken. My phone buzzed with a call from LV, a close family friend and retired attorney. Hi, LV, I said. Hey, you. I saw the report and recognized Linda. How are you and the kids? Not great, I said. Did you really hit Lavalliere with a frying pan? He asked. Yes, I said. He laughed. Good for you. Are you divorcing Linda? Yes, I said, explaining the video Lavalliere sent. That complicates things. Have you talked to a lawyer? I have an appointment with Lisa Hawkins tomorrow, I said. The Ice Queen herself, he said. The Ice Queen? Yeah, she's cold as ice in the courtroom. If you need scorched earth, she's your girl. But she's expensive. Can you afford her? She's taking my case pro bono, I said. Really? Any idea why? No, I said. Maybe you should ask, he suggested. I will, I said. We talked a bit more, and he offered his help. Thanks, I said, ending the call. I ate dinner, gathered the documents Lisa needed, and went to bed. The next morning, halfway to Lisa's office, my phone rang. It was Linda's mother. Jim, you have to go to the hospital, she said frantically. Why? I asked. It's Linda. She tried to liquidate herself last night. Took sleeping pills and booze. They pumped her stomach, but she's still in danger. She tried to end it, huh? I asked coldly. I have an emergency right now. Maybe I'll swing by after the meeting. Jim, she's still your wife and the mother of your children, she said. And she's in the hospital. Don't you have any feelings for her at all? Why do you think she's there? I asked. Do you think she thought about the kids when she left with that guy, or about me? I have an appointment with my lawyer. I'll swing by afterward. Please, Jim, she's a total wreck, she said. This has destroyed her. She has no one to blame but herself, I said. How can you be so cold? She asked. Linda loves you and the children. I feel the love, I said sarcastically. I'd better go. I'll check in later. She gave me the room number and I hung up. I headed to the downtown parking lot and made my way to Lisa's office. A young brunette receptionist greeted me and directed me to a chair in the waiting area. Soon, a petite blonde woman in a pantsuit came out and introduced herself. "I'm Lisa Hawkins," she said with a smile. "Nice to finally meet you, Jim." "Likewise," I said, though I wish it were under better circumstances. "Me too," she said. "Let's get to it. Did you bring the information I asked for?" "Yes," I said, handing her a folder with our financial information and a USB drive with the videos Lavaliere had sent. She reviewed everything, making notes. "Here's the plan," she said. "We'll file for divorce citing infidelity. In this state, infidelity can be used to avoid alimony. Since you both make similar incomes, the state usually splits everything 50-50ths, but we might get a bit more. We'll ask for physical custody, but courts usually favor the mother unless she's unfit." "She tried to liquidate herself last night," I said. Lisa's eyes sparkled. "Interesting," she said. "We can argue she's not mentally stable enough to care for the children. Plus, her lover attacked your family. We need to get a restraining order against her and Lavaliere." "Even though he's in the hospital and facing charges?" I asked. "Especially since he's facing charges," she said. "He's dangerous. Do you have a weapon?" "No, that's why I used a frying pan," I said. She laughed. "Remind me never to piss you off in the kitchen. Where are your kids now?" "At my parents' house." "We'll include them in the restraining order," she said, pulling out more documents. "I've also started a lawsuit against Lavaliere and the team. Alienation of affection lawsuits don't often succeed, but your case is strong with the videos and his assault. Lavaliere is worth about $125 million. We could ask for $12.5 million. We might even find others he's hurt and make it a class action suit. What do you think? You're the lawyer. Do what you think is right." "Okay," she said. "It won't be easy, but we can try. The team's response to the charges will be critical. It's an uphill battle." "I understand," I said. "The divorce itself can be quick," she continued. "Infidelity is a misdemeanor here, which we can use to our advantage. If she doesn't contest, it could be finalized in 3 to 6 months. Litigation will take more time, but I think we'll come out ahead. Any questions?" "Just one," I said. "Why are you doing this pro bono?" "You're not the only one Lavaliere has hurt," she said. "He seduced my fiancée years ago before he became a star." "Wait, what?" I asked. "I'm sorry to hear that. Is he bi or something?" She shook her head. "No, not at all. But apparently my then-fiancé was—" I was still confused. She smiled and explained. "We got engaged after the 2015 Obergefell decision legalized same-gender marriage nationwide. She fell for him just like your wife did. I broke off the engagement and wanted to get back at him, but never got the chance until now. Most of his sufferers hide in shame after being betrayed." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said. "Are you two still friends?" "We're friends, but not close. We've both moved on." She looked serious. "Does my lifestyle bother you?" I shook my head. "Not at all," I said, making her smile. "Good. I'm glad to hear that. So, are you and Audrey Tanis together?" I asked. She laughed. "We're just good friends. And no, there's nothing between us. But I wouldn't mind spending more time with her. Why? Thinking about sleeping with her? She likes you, you know. She usually doesn't take stories personally." "That's the last thing on my mind right now," I said. "My kids are my priority." "That's the way it should be. They need their father now more than ever. Let me get started on this, and I'll have the divorce papers ready in a day or two. If your wife is still in the hospital, we can serve her there." "I'd like to attend her funeral if possible," I said. "I think we can arrange that," she said, signaling the end of our meeting. "I'll be in touch. Be careful, okay?" We shook hands, and I left her office, heading to the hospital to check on Linda. I parked and headed inside. When I entered her room, her mother was talking to the doctor. Linda was hooked up to tubes and a ventilator, looking terrible. "Oh, it's good you're here," her mother said. "She's on self-destruction watch, and they're running tests. They're worried about brain damage since she's been unconscious so long. She almost died." "What happened?" I asked. "After seeing you and the kids, she went upstairs crying. I held her, thought she was fine, and gave her a nightcap to calm her. In the morning, I found an empty vial of sleeping pills and an empty glass. Her face was blue. I called emergency, and they brought her here, pumped her stomach, and gave her something to counteract the pills. Once stable, she'll see a psychologist and might stay in the psychiatric ward." "How long will she be here?" I asked. "A few days. I called her work, and they put her on sick leave. Are you going to serve her divorce papers here?" "Yes. How could you?" "She's already devastated." "Heavy stuff," I said, seeing her shocked. "Jim Carlyle. How can you be so cold and cruel?" I looked at her. I can be as cold and cruel as needed. She knew what she was doing when she left, but didn't care. Now she'll face the consequences. I saw a tear run down Linda's cheek, shook my head, and left the room. At home, I focused on fixing the door. I went online, ordered a new door and locks, and Fred agreed to help me install it when it arrived. The next few days were routine. I did chores and spent time with my kids. My parents helped with school and daycare runs. It was tough explaining to the kids that their mom wouldn't be around as much. Emma was still scared of adults, especially men, and I spent extra time with her. Damn Linda for causing this. The day came to serve Linda the divorce papers. Lisa called to let me know the bailiff's arrival time and advised me to stay quiet until the papers were served. I gave her the room number and headed to the hospital. I met the bailiff at the door and saw Linda's mother standing there, wiping tears from her face. "Please don't do this to her," she begged. "Not like this." I shook my head and entered the room with the bailiff. Linda was off the ventilator, lying in bed with tears streaming down her cheeks. The bailiff approached her. "Linda Carlisle?" he asked. "Yes," she said quietly. He handed her a manila envelope. "You've been served with a summons. Along with the divorce papers, you'll find a restraining order against you and Mr. Lavaliere. You both must stay at least 500 feet away from your husband, children, husband's residence, and his parents' residence. This includes your husband's workplace. Failure to comply will result in arrest and imprisonment. Do you understand?" She nodded and turned to me. "Can't we forget about it?" she asked. "It was just one night." "One night is one too many, Linda," I said. "Emma still hasn't recovered from what your lover did. This wouldn't have happened if you hadn't done what you did. Sign the papers, Linda." "But I don't want a divorce," she said. "What if I decide to fight it?" "Then I'll formally charge you with infidelity," I said. "Infidelity?" she asked. "Yes. Infidelity is a misdemeanor in this state. No one's been prosecuted for it yet, but there's always a first time. Sign the papers and be done with it. We're asking for half of what's in the bank. I'm asking for guardianship since you can't take care of yourself. Once the doctor clears you, you can see the kids if they want to see you. Right now, they don't. We're asking for minimal child support. You get what's yours. I get the house. I'm being fair." "Can I at least look at them before I sign?" she asked. "Of course," I said. She read the papers, tears streaming down her face. After a few minutes, she sighed and asked for a pen. The process server handed her one, and she signed the papers. He signed as a witness and took them from her. "I'll give them to Miss Hawkins," he said. "Have a good day." As he left, Linda looked at me, tears streaming down her face. "Is there no way we can forget this?" she pleaded. "I didn't mean to hurt you. It just happened." "You wanted to hurt me," I said. "You wasted no time leaving with him. When you saw him, he grabbed you, and you didn't even look at me. I can't forget what you did, ever." She cried harder. "I'm sorry, Jim. Will you ever forgive me?" I shook my head. "No. Maybe in a few years, but not now. I'll never forget what you did. I'm so sorry," she cried. Normally, I would have comforted her, but I felt nothing. She was like a stranger to me. "Yeah?" I said quietly. "Me too?" I turned and walked out of the room and out of her life. The next few months were tough for us. The kids and I were adjusting to life without Linda, finding our new routine. Learning everything Linda used to do was challenging, but with Mom's help, I managed. Over time, the kids didn't miss their mom as much. Emma went to counseling, which helped a lot. Linda attempted self-destruction twice more, and was saved each time by her mother. After the third attempt, she was declared incompetent and placed in a state-run psychiatric facility. She is now almost catatonic, spending her days eating, sleeping, and daydreaming in her room. I cut ties with our old circle of friends. Dee exploded when served with papers, but I didn't expect any money from her. I wanted her to understand how her inaction contributed to ruining our lives. I saw Dave a few months later, and he said they were getting a divorce because Dee tried to do the same thing as Linda. "Now I know what you've been through," he said. "I'm so sorry this happened." Although I didn't get as much as hoped, I received enough money to cover both kids' college and more. I also got lifetime season tickets. Lavaliere was fired and sentenced to 15 years in prison for his crimes. We filed 2 lawsuits against him, and over 50 men claimed he ruined their marriages. Lisa organized a class action lawsuit, and the judge allowed it to proceed. Lisa assured me Lavaliere would end up broke. I also sued him for intentional infliction of mental anguish and damages from his attack. We won $1.5 million. Even though Lisa didn't ask, I gave her a percentage for her hard work. In July, I sold the house due to bad memories and moved to a nice 3-bedroom apartment with security. I focused on the kids, making them my priority. Audrey introduced me to her friend April, and we dated for a few months, but I was still cautious after Linda's betrayal. In December, Linda's doctor asked if I could bring the kids to see her for Christmas, hoping it might help her depression. After discussing it with her mother and the kids, we decided to visit. On Christmas Eve, we went to the psychiatric facility. The kids were nervous, but eventually approached Linda, who looked devastated. She perked up when she saw them and gave me a weak smile. "Thank you for bringing them," she said quietly. Most of my hatred had turned to sadness by then. The doctor and I watched as she interacted with the kids. "I'm curious, Mr. Carlyle," the doctor said. "Can you tell me your side of the story? It might help me understand her better." I told him everything, and he listened thoughtfully. "You haven't considered reconciliation?" he asked. "No," I said. "What she did was deliberate. It's time she took responsibility and moved on." "Why not help her?" he suggested. "She wants her family's love." "She made her choice," I said. "Now she has to live with it." "You seem to be holding a grudge," he observed. "Wouldn't you be angry if your wife left you without even saying goodbye?" I asked. "I understand," he admitted. "How long will she be here?" I asked. "It's hard to say," he replied. "She needs to show she can function independently without being a danger to herself or others. She might be here for years." I nodded in understanding as we silently watched Linda interact with the children. Eventually, I noticed she was getting tired. "She tires easily these days," the doctor said, walking over to her. "Linda, it's time for your medication. The children need to go home." She nodded, kissed the kids goodbye, and looked at me with sadness in her eyes. "Thank you, Jim," she said. "I'd love to see them more often. I'm getting better, really." "Yes, Linda, I can see that," I replied. "You look good," she said. "Are you seeing anyone?" "I date occasionally, but nothing serious," I said. "I miss you and still love you," she said. "I miss the woman I married," I responded. "Get well, okay? Merry Christmas." She smiled, showing a glimpse of the old Linda. "Merry Christmas," she said. "Thanks again." "You're welcome," I said. The kid said goodbye and walked towards me. "Daddy, can we see her next week?" Emma asked. "Can we please?" "Yes, may I, Daddy?" little Timmy added. "We'll work something out," I said. "Let's get you home." This started a twice-a-month ritual. Linda's mother usually picked up the kids, but sometimes I did. Occasionally I talked with Linda, but we never discussed the past. There was no chance of reconciliation, and she knew it. But she seemed to appreciate our brief conversations. A year after that fateful Friday, the first COVID-19 end of life was reported in the U.S. on February 29th. March brought stay-at-home orders, making life harder. As the second anniversary of Linda leaving approached, things improved slightly. In June 2020, Lavaliere's team settled the class action lawsuit. Lisa was right. Lavaliere ended up penniless. We didn't get much, but knowing he lost everything was satisfying. Even Linda smiled at that. Hopefully, next February won't be as bad as the previous ones.